Welcome back to today's Explainer. Get ready, because we are embarking on a deeply, deeply unsettling journey today. We're pulling directly from our source material to decode 4 completely distinct, chilling narratives. We're talking about everything from tragic ancient legends hidden away in beautiful landscapes to modern suburban possessions and even a massive global conspiracy theory. We're going to break down the structure of these terrifying accounts, analyzing the timelines, the specific claims, and the sheer horror captured within them.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today's anthology of terror. First, No Kalaikai, the tragic waterfall. Second, Shiru's loyal ultimate sacrifice. Third, the global reptilian conspiracy. And finally, the Prayagraj possession case.
All right, kicking things off with Part 1, No Kalaikai, the tragic waterfall.
To truly grasp the horror of this first story, you really have to picture the setting. Cherpunji is breathtakingly beautiful. It's green, it's peaceful, and the farming life there is just simple and mundane. Our protagonist, a young widow named Kalikai, lived a very quiet life there. She absolutely adored her infant daughter, and really just to secure a good future for her, she married a second time to a man who seemed totally devoted to them both. It all felt so perfectly normal and safe, which honestly makes the betrayal that much more horrific. Because to this day, an 80-year-old legend claims a dark energy at a specific waterfall compels even the happiest people to jump if they stand too close.
So let's walk through how this tragic day actually unfolded. Kalakai and her husband had a pretty standard routine. They alternated days at the farm and at home. Well, on this fateful day, her husband absolutely insisted on staying home to care for the daughter, encouraging Kalakai to go out and work. When she returned exhausted that evening, she found a lantern thoughtfully placed in the kitchen and a meal already prepared by her husband. He served her rice and her absolute favorite thing, the soft, boneless pieces of meat. It felt like this deep act of love and care, right? She ate the entire meal, just assuming her daughter was safely asleep in the other room.
But when she finally asked where her daughter was, her husband delivered an absolutely chilling confession. He looked at her and said, "I killed the one who was stealing our happiness." The husband, who had been consumed by this hidden, deeply twisted jealousy over the attention Kai gave her child, had actually committed the unthinkable.
The realization is just visceral. When Kalakai went to throw away her leaf plate, she felt something sticky on her foot. She grabbed the lantern, looked down, and saw bloody footprints. Following them, she found a bowl filled with blood and a tiny, child-sized finger. The sickening truth washed over her right then. The boneless meat she had just eaten was her own daughter. Driven utterly mad by the grief and shock, Kalakai ran straight to a nearby waterfall and threw herself off. Her trauma literally immortalized her in the geography of the land, giving the No Kalakai waterfall its cursed reputation.
Moving right along to Part 2, Shiru's loyal ultimate sacrifice.
Now, the terror in this next account escalated incredibly fast. It started on day 1, when the owner heard stones hitting his house in the dead of night. When he went to investigate, he found an old man crouched in the bushes, but the man had bleeding eyes and pure white pupils. Terrifying, right? The very next day, Shiru, the dog, dragged his owner up to the roof, revealing a bloody cloth and 3 freshly killed rabbits. By week 3, the family watched in absolute disbelief as a floating, illuminated bridal daya literally drifted past their front gate in midair. The supernatural attacks were crossing the line into something fiercely physical and direct.
The emotional climax of all this terror hit at the 1-month mark. According to the source, these events were the result of black magic initiated by jealous neighbors. One evening, a dark entity manifesting as a bird was launched straight toward the owner. But Shiru, seeing the threat, leaped high into the air, intentionally intercepting the curse meant for his master. Shiru died instantly. He made the ultimate sacrifice to save his owner's life, and the family believes Shiru's spirit never actually left. They say he remains right there, forever guarding the house against any further harm.
Okay, we are totally shifting gears for Part 3, the global reptilian conspiracy.
Let's define exactly what this theory entails. Objectively speaking, the reptilian humanoids theory is this staggering, massive claim that the world's elite, we're talking major political leaders, royalty, A-list celebrities, are actually shape-shifting alien reptiles operating in disguise to control humanity. It is a wildly elaborate web of claims that has completely captured the internet's imagination.
And this brilliantly illustrates how conspiracies can synthesize entirely unrelated cultural moments into one giant narrative. I mean, look at the claims here. It traces back to David Icke's book, The Biggest Secret, which really popularized the whole disguised reptilian leaders idea. But then it absorbs modern pop culture rumors, like fans allegedly seeing Justin Bieber peeling off scaly skin in a green room before some massive PR cover-up. It even touches on royal conspiracies. The source notes claims that Princess Diana used the phrase lizards and reptiles as a secret code word for the royal family on tapped phone lines. Finally, it links straight into UFO lore, bringing up a hypnotized police officer who, after witnessing a crash, recalled being abducted by lizard-like aliens with snake logos on their chests. These are unverified claims, of course, but they show how separate, totally disparate cultural anxieties get woven into one unified theory.
Which brings us to our final, most visceral chapter, Part 4, the Prayagra possession case. The behavioral contrast in this case is just terrifying. Normal Indumati was known as a sweet, mild-mannered neighbor. She spoke only Hindi, absolutely never touched alcohol, and was strictly a vegetarian. But after a honeymoon trip to Mumbai, she did a complete 180. Suddenly, she was violently screaming phrases in fluent English, a language she didn't even know before. She also displayed these horrific dietary changes that completely shocked her husband and everyone who knew her.
And the extremity of those physical changes was staggering. While in this possessed state, this normally strict vegetarian woman would devour large raw chickens, literally tearing them apart with her bare hands. She would instantly consume 2 full bottles of strong Daisy liquor without even passing out. She was allegedly possessed by a lingering entity from Mumbai named Deshpande. This entity craved alcohol and raw meat. And here is the most horrifying part. This entity was supposedly the reason for Indumati's multiple miscarriages, because the spirit was literally feeding on and consuming the life within her.
Things escalated so badly that they called in a local Malvi to perform an exorcism. But the very second the ritual began, Indumati's body contorted and she screamed in perfect English, "I will consume you all, give me food," before physically attacking the Malvi. Now keep in mind she was a small woman, but she displayed this unnatural, impossible strength. She completely overpowered the religious leader, tearing at his flesh and forcing him to flee the house in absolute terror. He claimed he had never seen a force so strong in his life.
Part 5. Exorcism at Mihandapur Balaji. So, desperate for help, the family was redirected by a passing sadhu to Mihandapur Balaji in Rajasthan. According to the source, this legendary temple purportedly provides a solution for 90% of supernatural problems. The logic behind it is fascinating. It's believed that ancient sages bound the area with such intense positive energy through prolonged meditation that negative entities simply cannot sustain themselves within its radius. They are literally forced out. It's an incredible look at the belief in the sheer power of deeply sacred collective spaces to combat unseen forces.
But the exorcism at the temple itself was a brutal, chaotic physical ordeal. Indumati had to be bound tightly by heavy iron chains, yet the entity within her was so powerful that she repeatedly snapped these thick chains, continuously screaming in English and fighting the temple priests with that same impossible strength we saw earlier. It was only after a grueling, multi-hour spiritual battle filled with continuous chanting and intense rituals that the entity of Deshpande was finally expelled. Indumati collapsed, finally freed from the nightmare.
Well, we've definitely covered a lot today. Ancient legends, fiercely loyal sacrifices, massive global conspiracies, and utterly terrifying possessions. And I think it leaves all of us with a really provocative question to ponder. Are these simply local tales woven by human imagination over the years? Or is there something unseen, something deeply unsettling, just watching us from the shadows? I really hope this explainer helped you unpack these fascinating accounts. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.